The state of the Liberal leadership race is, well, meh. Do you even know who's running? Well, a few of the names, the emerging names, of course, are Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland, but there's also another MP running, Karina Gould. Maybe you haven't heard of her, but we could remind you of a few of the things that she's said in the past. We'll show you some of that. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Brian Lilley and Warren Kinsella. I'm not as enthusiastic, obviously, perhaps as some Liberal supporters, Brian, about the next Liberal leader, who will, of course, be our next Prime Minister. But the race thus far has been meh.
Well, as we record right now, it's January 23rd. They have to sign up officially by today. So we'll find out, in the next day or so, which one of the pretenders is actually a pretender. But you've got, former Liberal MP Frank Baylis jumping in. I know he's been making the rounds of, top officials and trying to get people support. You've got Ruby Dalla still talking about it. You've got a bunch of backbenchers putting their toe in the water who probably won't get in. But this is really a knife fight between Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland, two people who know each other so well that Carney is the godfather to one of Freeland's children. So, I mean, people talk as if Mark Carney is the front runner. He's definitely gotten some strong support from the caucus and cabinet ministers. But look, that doesn't always help you. When Doug Ford took over as the leader of the Ontario PC party, I think he had one person in caucus back him, but the party membership got behind him. We don't know what's going on with the Liberals, and despite slightly tightening up their rules, this could still be a leadership race that's determined by 14-year-old Chinese exchange students who just happen to be in Canada at the time because their rules and their membership situation is so loosey-goosey.
Yeah, and I think that there's sort of more an opaque nature when it comes to these rules that are being put forward by the party as to who can actually vote. But look, Carney had his announcement last week. It was anemic. He hasn't really been out as he did a scrum a few days ago. It was kind of not a great performance by him in terms of answering questions from the media. It seems like he can't answer a question without focusing on his papers in front of him, which is a bit surprising. But as for Freeland, we saw her announcement was, of course, overtaken by the Hamasniks. They came and protested her, but it's hard to accept that one of the biggest signature pieces of the Trudeau government, Warren, was the carbon tax. And now Carney and Freeland are both distancing themselves from the carbon tax. So what are Canadians to believe here?
Not much of it. And, on your first point and Brian's point about the leadership rules and voting, it amazes me that they did not fix that mess with Madam Justice Hogue's report coming out on foreign interference during their leadership race.
Right.
Like, she is going to embarrass them if they're not able to say what they've done to fix up the obvious way in which interference has taken place. But anyway,
I've had liberal MPs tell me that this is a good thing, that it's a sign of openness, Warren. I mean, they
yeah.
boast about it. Look, I think all the parties have to fix their rules, and I think they should all follow the same rules we have in a general election.
So what of Karina Gould then, Warren? Why is she running, Warren?
Well, there's speculation she's a stalking horse for Carney, which means that she can attack Freeland in debates in a way that Carney doesn't want to. I'm not sure that's necessary. Gould deserves credit for one thing. She came out with a very clear statement applauding the release of the 3 female hostages last week and said, welcome home, and demanded the release of the other hostages. So at least she's doing that. Quite a few other federal politicians are not, but she's not a serious candidate. You look at any polling, she's not going to win her seat. So how does she expect us to believe she's going to win the country? It's ridiculous. Yeah. This thing is between Carney and Freeland, and as of now, I'm prepared to call it. Carney's got it in the bag. Champagne, who would have been one of the serious contenders, is apparently getting ready to endorse him. Maybe he will be endorsed by the time we get this video up on the internet. So that's it. Like it's
Yeah.
over. Carney is going to be the next leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, and he's going to be the unelected prime minister. Is he doomed because of that? Is he doomed because of carbon tax? I think the Liberals have got a better prospect. They're still going to lose, but they're not going to lose as badly because of one reason:
Hmm.
Donald Trump. 80% of
Yeah.
Canadians don't like Donald Trump. They don't like what he's doing. And Carney is going to position himself as the anti-Trump candidate and do all he possibly can to suggest that Poilievre really favors the Trump agenda. Poilievre doesn't. That's an unfair and inaccurate thing to say. But
Hmm.
there is a constituency of conservatives who love Trump in Canada. So they're the ones who are going to create problems for Poilievre. People are going to say, okay, well, Warren, it's not going to really matter at the end of the day, Poilievre's leader, for sure. But I conclude by pointing out two words: Randy White. Stephen Harper was well on his way 20 years ago, was it? That long ago, to winning the election in the first election he was facing against Paul Martin. He was going to win. And then Randy White, an MP from British Columbia, came out and said, we're going to override the charter and we don't care what judges say. They lost the election because of that kind of wonky statement. So that is the exposure Poilievre's got, is a couple of members of his caucus stepping up and saying, you know what, we kind of like what the president is saying. We think he's right, and looking like they side with Trump. That is a vulnerability for the conservative side.
Well, I just want to pick up on that, Brian, because thus far, that hasn't happened. There hasn't been those wobbly conservative candidates or MPs out there sort of off script. And I suspect it's because Polyev has really locked that stuff down and said, we're speaking with one voice on this issue, and that's from the leader, period, all stop. So maybe they've learned their lesson. I don't know. I don't want to delve too further down deep into that. What I do want to ask you about is sort of next steps here and looking forward to the number of things that are going to happen even before there is a Liberal leader. It's possible we're going to have an Ontario election. Premier Doug Ford likely will win again, a majority government to give. He's looking for a mandate to address the Trump tariffs. But during that election time, Premier Ford and others are going to be going down to Washington and spending a few days down there in mid-February to get a sense of the territory in terms of the tariffs. Then we look to the first week of March for a Liberal leader. And so a lot of events happening even before the Liberals get to say, hey, Mark Carney is the winner.
Next week, Doug Ford calls an election. We will vote end of February, beginning of March. We'll find out next week. Trump tariffs come in February 1st. By the looks of it, he could change his mind. He's changed his mind 3 times in 2018 when he was putting them in. They were on, they were off, they were on. So that's all going to hit. Parliament resumes March 24th. They have to come back. Whether they sign a deal with the NDP or not, I don't know, but we're going to have Parliament come back with if Warren's scenario is correct, with an unelected prime minister. It has happened before, John Turner in 1984, but it didn't go well for Trudeau or for the Liberals and Turner at that point. I'm not sure what will happen here. The Liberals will bounce back a bit when they get a new leader. We've been saying that for a long time. Will it be enough to overtake Poilievre? That I don't know. Yeah, there is a scenario where I actually could see the Liberals winning, just because believe in my rules about voters are fickle, polls change, campaigns matter. They could extend this until October and have Carney out there fighting Trump as the unelected prime minister. And depending on how things go, that could change public opinion. So there are so many unknowns at this point.
Yeah, a lot of factors. Warren, last word to you, of course. One of the paths to victory, I suppose, for the Liberals would be through the province of Quebec. And a lot of criticism coming out from Quebec about Carney's French. It's not strong. They don't like it. It's too Ottawa bureaucratic French, as some have said. So that's a challenge for him. But on the flip side to that, we see the rise of the Bloc Québécois, taking Paul Martin's former seat in a recent by-election, for example. So the path for a victory for Mark Carney, it's it's kind of muddled with some big challenges.
Absolutely. He's not a politician. And by the way, I want Brian's cliched statement on a t-shirt. I think we should sell those t-shirts. We'd make a fortune. But yeah, he's not a politician, and it showed in his launch. And it showed in the way they're running a classic low bridge campaign, trying to get him from basically saying anything that's substantive, whereas Gould and Freeland are out there saying all kinds of different things and
Mhm.
at least giving us some policy. So, but he's going to win, and so his exposure is his lack of experience. His exposure is his French, which is much more minimal than people were expecting. And his exposure is, some of the things, the decisions he made in the past. They are going to say, there's one issue, it's Donald Trump, it's tariffs. Who do you want to have as representing you at the bargaining table or in the fight? Do you want the former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England? Or do you want this guy who's never done anything outside of politics and has never held a job in the real world? That's going to work with some people.
Well, is it time for us to get used to saying Prime Minister Mark Carney, even if it is for a very short period of time? Time will tell. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to the TorontoSun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.